now that you get to this point, when you're wrapping up the end of camp and transitioning into game week, what things do you want to see from guys? Not necessarily individual guys, but just collectively, what do you want to see from these guys?
Yeah, just clean ball. I want to see the details and what we're asking them to do. I want to see clean technique. If guys make mistakes, their ability to be able to self-correct or at least put words to why they made the mistake. But just guys playing clean, playing fast, playing with great effort, knowing that, hey, there are times when we're going to have a great call. There will be times when we don't have such a great call. But with their detail and their technique and their effort, their how, they can make up for it. And so 9 days out, that's what we're really looking for in practice.
You bring up something that I don't think people talk a lot about. How much emphasis have you guys put on communication?
Oh, it's everything.
Not just you to them, but them with each other.
It's everything. I mean, every snap, just pre-snap communication. We start with identifying offensive formations, down and distance. A saying we have in our room is you see and say everything. And when you don't think it matters, it matters. And so we're talking about everything from formation breaks to guys in odd positions, guys in a position to move, anytime they're close splits, stacks and staggers. And so there may be calls where it doesn't affect us, but there are some where it does. And so getting the guys to develop habits of just talking about it every single snap.
Another one of those details, takeaways, it seems like you guys have been really focused on. And I know that was
Yes.
a conversation in the offseason, but where have you seen your group maybe make strides in that regard, and where do they have to go from here?
Absolutely. It's huge. That's one of the aspects of defense that we can really impact the game. We want to stop the score, but a big part of that is taking the football away and giving it back to our offense. And so we look for opportunities every day, an individual to do it. We stress it. We have an indie period where we're doing some version of takeaway drill. It may be positionally, it may be as a defensive unit. And then in our compete sessions, so whether we're in our Spartan drill, working the perimeter, we're in run period, skelly, we're always looking for opportunities to either punch at the ball, rake at a ball, and definitely if the ball's in the air, we're going after it, right? So we're just teaching those guys little tricks and tools to have them be more productive on the football.
Beyond just picks and forced fumbles, how do you evaluate, especially looking in the portal, high school play, how do you evaluate someone's ability to take the ball away?
Yeah, I think guys just around the ball. If tight coverage, zone coverage, their ability to be a vision and break player, to be able to read quarterback drops and sets and take a step in the right direction before the ball's even thrown. And just when guys are around the football, you're like, okay, there's something there. And then as a coach, you take pride in maybe giving them an advantage or giving them another little tool that can help them make that play. But really looking for production, we want guys that find their way somehow, some way around the football.
So been like getting your hands on Nakai and being able to work with him more this year, whereas last year he's in and out and you didn't have as much time to be able to work with him more in depth this year. What's that been like for you?
Oh, it's been awesome. I mean, he's always been a general in our room. He's always been a voice and a presence. But for him now to be back in the grass, actually doing the work, not just being Coach Kai, has been really cool. And I know he's excited about it. And, he's flying around, making plays on the ball. And then the young guys, they listen to him, they follow him. And then in the meeting room, just in terms of teaching and installing, him being a third-year guy in this system, there are a lot of things that, hey, if the room gets stuck, I can, hey, Nakai, what do we have? And he can spit it out. And so he's been really good in that regard.
Do you have a sense this late in camp what you have?
You know what? I like to think we do. But, football, man, it's a strange game with a strange little ball. There are days when the guys come out, we're firing on all cylinders, and the communication and the production on the ball is there and the big plays. And there are other days where you can see the wheels turning a little bit, and some of that may be install, some of it may be conditions, and that's what you work through as a team, as a coaching staff, is to find a way to make it so it's all the same. Every day is the same. And so the guys show up and they're the same every day, and you know what you're going to get. I do feel really good about where we are, as a position group, as a defensive unit, as a team. And I think the guys are eager to continue to work. They realize that the hay's never in the barn, right? Even when we kick the ball off, we are working the game. And so they show up every day, and it's a rinse and repeat kind of mentality for them, even past the install period, which we are.
With going back to Nakai, how do you think he handled just the past year and everything he's been through, and how do you think he maybe grew from that?
Yeah, I think he handled it really well. I think as well as a young man can, He's got a really strong support system with family and the coaches here and the community here. But I think what he did, he just took it day to day. There were days where he could go and he could do things and participate, and there were other days where he couldn't. And so I think he took it in stride, and used it as an opportunity, like you said, at growth. You know, you have to go through it to grow through it. You know, there weren't any exit ramps and any opportunities to not do the work. Even when he wasn't available last year, he made every meeting. You know, and he's a guy that's going to be 5 to 10 minutes early with his notebook open. He's watching film. And so he's continued to be that guy all the way through.
Devin, how have you seen him make that transition since January or whatever it's been?
Yeah, he's another just guy that shows up and works. I mean, he's always in the building. He's in the meeting room early as well. He's watching. He's asking questions. He's taking notes. He's a guy like Nakai and some other guys that will text me or call me in the evening and have a question about a certain play or a certain question about the install. And so he's always working his craft. And it's been a pleasant surprise to see how fast he's picked up our defense. And he's starting to get more comfortable with barking out different things and taking the lead on some of the checks and adjustments. The base things that we do in terms of our process and talking about formations and down and distances and splits and motions, he's lights out with that. And I think as we continue to play and coach and get better, he'll get better with that.
Who's handling the nickels for you guys, you or Hank?
I am. Yeah, they're in our safeties room.
So what are you seeing from that group? How many guys are you repping in there? And is there anything that changes with that position, or is Joe's defense kind of?
Yeah, there are guys that are cross-training at both corner and nickel. You know, they kind of sit in my room to kind of get the big rocks of the techniques and the install, but they're also playing some corner, and so there are situational opportunities for guys that are on the edge to come in and play in the slot. And so I really think it's good for them because they're getting that man zone teaching on the perimeter at corner, and then they're applying some of the same techniques there in the slot, but also getting the run fits, the blitz pass, and some of the deep coverage work in the slot. So, you know, we in our defense, that position's a dollar sign, you know, and so those guys that we are repping in that position, man, have really taken on that responsibility to be the X factor, you know, the guy to make a lot of plays in that position.
I feel like players and coaches are noticing a benefit from having Rossi being able to float.
I think so. Oh, man.
Making some.
I do. I think what Coach has been able to do floating is paint the picture, right? So we meet as a unit, kind of sets the pace for the day, or if it's post-practice, you know, highlights the things that we did well, things we can improve on. But on install days, game plan weeks, he does a phenomenal job at painting the picture of the defense and then drilling it way down positionally as to what we need to get done at each position. And so I think what it does is, one, it's his voice that the guys hear. Then it's the same message that we're delivering. And so they're hearing it twice. They're seeing it. You know, they're hearing it all week. And then I also think it helps with him just continue to be strong connections with the guys, you know, building those bonds with the guys. So I've benefited from it a ton as an assistant coach because there are times when I'll have like a guest lecturer, you know, and I'll have Coach Rossi come in and talk through a technique, or even if it's not about our position group, maybe what the linebackers are seeing or doing or the defensive front's doing. So he provides more of the why, you know, the behind the scenes.
How do you feel about depth in your room, just overall, the amount of guys that you think
Yeah.
can play and go out there and make an impact?
It's really good. You know, that's always a problem as a coach. I mean, you got playable guys and only so many reps. And so trying to be smart about getting guys in the game and the combinations of who goes where. I think the one thing that the guys have done a really good job of this camp is being able to play multiple positions in the room. So, you know, you look at the safety room, we have the nickels, we have the frees and the strongs. There are several guys that can play all three. And we feel really good about them going in the game and being able to execute at a high level.
Was that like I guess you always want to have depth, right? You're trying to build in the offseason. Was that like a thing you really wanted to accomplish, just get that sort of?
Yes. Yeah, looking for like the Swiss Army knife of a player, right? You want a guy that in the back end can blitz, he can play deep coverage, he can play man coverage. You know, he becomes the guy 3, 4, 5 games into the season that he's like Waldo, where the offense is looking for him because he's a problem. You want to have 3 of those guys, right? You want to have 3 guys back there that wherever they are, the offense has to deal with them, you know, and that maybe slows down their process and allows us to attack them on defense.
Outside of Nakai and Devin, who are some of the players there at safety, some of the younger guys that are knocking on the door, getting that too deep?
Yeah. So Mike Richard, new guy that joined us in January, he's done a phenomenal job playing in that slot nickel position, also playing some safety. Avion Gross, who's been a part of the program for a few years now, another guy that's got position flexibility that's moving around. Some of the younger guys that were here last year that were kind of cutting their teeth and earning their bones, and Deuce Edwards and Evan Young have done a great job taking some steps. And then you've got guys like Jonathan Granby, who just got here, a couple months ago, but he learned our defense. He played quarterback in high school, so he's got a really sharp football mind, and now it's just a matter of getting him in the grass and getting the techniques taught, but he's done a phenomenal job. And along with some of the other guys that we mentioned earlier that cross-train a little bit at corner, you look up and there's a combination. There's like 6 or 7 combinations of DBs in the game, and all those guys are flying around making plays, so it's fun.
Last one for Coach Adams.
The emphasis on position flexibility, is this because you're talking about there's a guy who can play corner, soft corner, maybe you've got Cam Stoddard, maybe linebacker, DB, you've got Carson Golker, you've got Bryson Williams. Is this like a Pat Fitzgerald thing? Like, is this like, I'm curious, like, because there's a couple different spots all around the field.
Yeah.
Where you've got guys who can play a bunch of different
I
stuff.
think you hear Coach talk about guys being, football players, and even our special teams units, you ask guys, hey, what position are you? And you never hear guys say, I'm a wide receiver. They say, I'm a football player, and I think for Coach, wanting guys who love the game, understand the game at a deeper level, that can go in and play multiple positions is something that he's after. And I think just the nature of football now, you can't just be a boundary safety anymore. You can't just be a cloud corner. You have to have the ability to do a lot of different things. And so, yes, I think the vision for Coach is for us to have a lot of really good football players in this program with a few different spots that we can plug and play. So that's what we're after.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thank you so much.